Hey everybody, this is Benny again on a beautiful Labor Day weekend. I hope you're all enjoying your time off today, and we thought we'd do a video on Gen 4 Glock 20, 10 millimeter. Like I said, Gen 4, so she's got the finger grooves there, it's unloaded. Do that. I've done some upgrades to it. I put a KKM precision barrel on it. I got some night sights, 3-dot sights. There's been some, I did the trigger bar deal there is one of the things that I've done. I put the thug plug in here for weight, and it's got the tungsten guide rod in it. I think that's about all that I've done to it. But we're going to shoot that up today. I'll try and shoot it through some sheetrock again, see what our hand loads can do there, blow some stuff up and ring some steel. But before I get into the gun a little bit, I wanted to talk about the 10 millimeter a little bit. And there's a lot of videos out there on it, probably have a lot more history than I'll be able to try and give you here shortly. But I thought, it's fair to go over the cartridges as much as the gun and its roots the way I can remember it or understand it. So for me, I connect the dots all the way back to 1964 in the development of the 41 Magnum. Skeeter Skelton, Bill Jordan, Elmer Keith were all movers and shakers on this. Of course, Elmer was the developer of all three of the original Magnums in the United States, the 357, 41, and 44. 357 came out in 1935, 44 in 1955, and in 64, those three guys aforementioned decided they really wanted something in between. Bill Jordan had come up with the idea of the K-frame and pushed that through Smith & Wesson to get a little bit smaller frame than the end frame that was originally used for the 357 Magnum because of weight, which I kind of find funny because Mr. Jordan was such a big guy. But anyway, the idea being that they wanted to fill that gap between the two Magnums that were in existence at the time, which is interesting because really the 357 Magnum can do just about anything with two-legged peoples out there without a problem. It would have been, in my opinion, kind of interesting to see them develop quicker an end frame with the 8-shot that we have today than to go to another cartridge. Although I'm glad that they did because I really do like 41 Magnum as well. It's a really nice cartridge, and hopefully I'll down the road do a video on that specifically. But where I'm going with it in 64 with the development of the 41 Magnum, it failed possibly more than anything because of Remington not giving the cartridges kind of like what Keith and them guys had come up with power-wise, so like a practice load and a carry load. Not so much like a 38 Special and 357, not that far down, just enough difference that, you could train with it and then still, make a wallop type of deal. Prior to that, Colt had a 41 long Colt back in, I don't want to say before the turn of the last century, 1800s maybe, but it fell by the wayside. But that was around prior to the 41 Magnum. So now you jump ahead and in time, and Colonel Jeff Cooper had come up with the idea of the Bren 10 in a 40 caliber. And back then, most semi-autos were single stack magazines. So you're narrowing it down off the 45 ACP, which he was a big fan of, but that fat cartridge takes up quite a bit of space, and they hadn't come up with the double stack mags yet. So the idea was to get more power, like a 357 Magnum power in a semi-automatic, which has been a thing that they've been chasing for quite a while. With that came the Miami-Dade shooting in the early 80s, and the FBI kind of had a problem there, and they decided that they thought they needed more power. Got the contract set up with Smith & Wesson, and then Colt was stepped in there with the Delta Elite, but they had some metallurgy problems. And then as time went on, the cartridge, Norma, I believe, made the original cartridges, which was like a 200 grain bullet going like 1,200 feet per second, which is pretty stout. They had some issues then with the trainees. I've heard this, I don't know how accurate this is, if it's accurate or not. It's an urban legend that the recoil and this type of thing was too much. So then you want to jump ahead to 92, I believe it was, and Smith & Wesson, the 40 Smith & Wesson is born. Until recently, in the last 5 years, 40 dominated in the United States. The military, the police cartridge, I would say more than anything, not military, but police cartridge. So It worked. It was down, you know, it's a basically a cut 9 or a cut 10, I'm sorry, and a little bit less power, but a nice round hole, big 40 caliber bullet, you know, 900 to 1,000 feet per second, doing its diligence. But it has waned now with the advent again of 9mm and the hollow point ammunition that we have today. So it's just kind of a brief overlay. I think it's interesting that the guys in 64, I think we're dead on. I think 40 caliber really is kind of a Goldilocks caliber. It's right in there. It can do so many things very, very well. And especially something like 10mm, which, looking at the numbers the way I see it, is very, very comparable to 357 Magnum, and it is a bigger hole. Obviously, you know, 357 is basically an undersized 36, and 10mm is 40 straight across, 401 thou, so in diameter. So you're looking at a bigger bullet in diameter with quite a bit of punch behind it, doing all those things, and you can get it in a semi-automatic. With that, Glock really saved the 10mm, and now it's kind of had a resurgence. But I don't know what would have happened to 10mm if it wasn't for Glock. They came up with a double stack magazine for it. 15 rounds is still amazing capacity for that. And the people that got on that bandwagon when they came out, and I don't remember the year that the Glock 20 came out, but to keep that going, you got to tip your hat to Glock on that one. And unfortunately, it sounds like, as many of you know, that they're going to start dropping a lot of these different, not rounds, but different guns coming up in the next year or so. So kind of sad. I can't remember if the 20 was on the list that made it. I think that it is, but maybe the 29 wasn't. But the other place that I want to kind of go with the 10mm and what happened to the FBI, I think the FBI's analysis of what happened in that shooting down in Miami in the early 80s, which gave rise to the 10mm, which, you know, good for us shooters type of thing. But it really, if you watch Paul Harrell, may he rest in peace, he did a really, really great video on it years ago, and he broke down what happened with each one of those shooters from what he had read and gone through on that shooting. And really what you see there is just a lack of training and a lack of, you know, going into a situation and being not so much undergunned, but under trained. These guys were carrying 357 Magnum guns a lot of the times. I think 3 or 4 or 5 of the guys there, I can't remember the number, and they're all carrying 38 specials, and even then it wasn't a plus P situation, I don't believe. Many of them didn't carry any extra rounds. They didn't even have that, like 1 or 2 of them only had a backup gun. And on top of that, when they started looking at the hits that were made, the number, and I want to say it was a large number, were mostly misses. So it wasn't that they were undergunned or didn't have the right caliber, but, you know, the Federal Bureau of Investigation comes in and says, oh, they need more gun. And then they lead the charge and many people follow them. And in this case, hey, it's great, we get the 10mm, but at the same time, the 357 Magnum would have been more than enough, or in the end, the double-aught buck pump shotgun is what took the last guy down, if I'm not mistaken. They just didn't go into it with the right mindset. I think their mindset was more along, they got a badge, they got the authority, and these guys will stop doing what they're doing. And that day they didn't, and they shot back, and they lost. You know, I think 3 guys lost their lives because of it. So just bad training. They didn't hit what they were aiming at. They didn't carry the Magnum rounds that they had available to them at the time, and they didn't use cover as well. They kind of just lost their heads, which is really, really sad. But hopefully they've learned from that and they've trained better. I don't know. They think the 9mm will save them the same thing. I think a 9mm round actually went into the guy. One of the guys was carrying a Smith & Wesson, one of the double action, single action guns that were still being used at the time, and it penetrated just up to his heart and stopped. So maybe with the modern technology that we have, you know, the 9mm would be enough, but obviously you definitely have to hit the people. So to get back to the gun, we're going to shoot her up today a little bit. We're going to put it through my hand loads through the sheetrock. We're going to do that, a little chronograph there. We'll blow some soda pop up, hit some steel, see what the power is of the 10mm in the Glock 20. And I'm going to make a cut here real quick and show you those different rounds that I was kind of mentioning, the 9mm, the 40, 357, 41 mag, 10mm. Show you kind of like the size. I'm sure many of you are aware of them. Just give you an idea of what we're talking about and the gestation of the development of different cartridges and how they've kind of come down the pipe. So with that, we'll get to her. All right, everybody, over here on the left, you can see that's a 9mm, and the next one's a 40 Smith & Wesson, and then 10mm, 357 Magnum. There's the 41 Magnum, and just for further reference, the 44 Magnum. So you can see, hopefully there a little bit, that 40 is just a little bit shorter case-wise than the 10mm. And you know, I don't remember all the dimensions, but if we kind of even those up, 40 and 9mm are really close in the same height, but obviously your diameter is a great deal bigger. This is 9mm kind of standard is like 355 thou, and 40 is 401 thou. So both of these are 40 caliber, 40 Smith & Wesson 10mm. It's just that the case is a little bit longer. And obviously you get up into these other Magnums that came out back in the day, and you can see how much taller they are. So without anything further there, we'll tear up some sheetrock, I hope. All right, before I shoot this is a hand load. It's a 200 grain Hornady XTP bullet. It's over the top of Blue Dot. I think it's 8.9 grains. Large CCI primer, not a Magnum, just a standard primer. And I want to say it's right at 1 1/4 inches, 1.25 overall length. So I'm hopefully going to try and hit that black dot there and try and stay high, because I'm reusing some of this sheetrock, and I'm hoping that the chronograph will pick up the speed here. So with that, let's see how well my hope goes. Well, it shows 1092, so it's not as fast as I remember it being, and I'm a little off there, but we'll cut and we'll see if we can find the bullet. Okay, well, there's the bullet, and what's interesting about it is it hit really low, and then we guess that it bounced up and it smacked the back of this one. That's crazy, but there she is. And let's see if I can get a count and get my finger in there. Let's come back here. Let's see, I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 25, yeah, 25, and it smacked the heck out of that 26th one, but didn't go through it. So it was like hitting it sideways. Just pretty wild. So it went through 25 by my count, and I'll grab the bullet here finally. Hopefully it's cooled off a little bit. Back up. So it flattened it pretty good. Get it focused there a little bit, but she's pretty much all intact. And that was a 200 grainer. So I might try, just for giggles, the 100. I got some 180 grainer. I might try one of those real quick. Let's see what she'll do. All right, this is the 180 grain Hornady XTP, and I use long shot with this powder, 7.8 grains, and everything else is the same, the overall length and the style of primer. So give it a try, see if it goes any further or not, if the weight makes any difference, powder, whatever. So hopefully I can I'm gonna try and hit that black dot better this time. Dang. All right, it came up, yep, it went a little bit faster. So 1137 on the speed, and we'll see if we can find that bullet. Well, we found it. Hopefully you can see that. Hopefully. And in this case, counting them, we already counted them. I didn't do it on camera here. It went through one less. So it went through 24 and smacked the 25th. So it's kind of interesting that heavier bullet went through one extra piece of sheetrock. These are all, by the way, I forgot to mention, they're 1/2 inch thick sheetrock. So the 180 grain going a little bit faster, but it didn't go through more sheetrock. It went through one less. So that's kind of interesting takeaway. So we'll turn around here and we'll hit some steel and maybe blow up some soda pop. All right, I'm going to try the 180 grain bullets first. Got some stuff here to shoot at. see what she can do with the soda pop. The only thing I didn't mention was with 10 millimeter in your hand loading, it's easy enough to hand load, but I don't care what gun I've had so far, except for maybe a revolver. They kick the brass out something fierce, and no matter how many tarps we get out here, trying to collect brass sometimes is a real pickle. So going forward, anybody had any ideas of hand loading? Or most of the people, I suppose, shoot on ranges where they can collect it off the ground, maybe a little bit easier. They got gravel, but we've kind of come up with this process with the tarps and trying to get all our brass. And this one, depending on the gun, they'll go feet and feet way out to the side. So that's one thing to keep in the back of your mind. But we'll try and shoot up some stuff here. I'm gonna try and hit maybe that left bottle there, work my way left to right, and see what I can hit. Nothing. Well, that one's safe so far. There we go. Nice. All right, let's try the next one there. Dang. Well, when I can hit them, they blow up pretty nice. That's funny. Well, some of them are still safe. We'll give her another try. All right, these are the 200 grain bullets, and hopefully I need to practice with this gun more, but try and hit some stuff here and see if there's any different effect when I make the hits. And I'll start with the steel plates there across the top and try and warm myself up. Got that one. That's pretty cool. 2 for 1. Interesting. Nice. Oh! Must have hit that one a little low. That was pretty cool. Doesn't help to speed up with that one. You got to really get back on that front sight, but pretty cool. We'll try a few more here. All right, I got a couple magazines here. We're just gonna have a good time. Hopefully hit some stuff, blow some stuff up, and see how it goes. That last bottle is one that I clipped with some shrapnel. I don't know if it'll blow up this time or not, but there's a little soda in the bottom. Hopefully I can knock it over. Oh, I hit it. I saw it, but it didn't move. That's funny. Those were the 200 grainers, I think. Those hit pretty well. Oh! Must have hit it low. That's cool. Well, that's a lot of fun. We'll wrap it up here in a second. All right, well, that's about it for today with the Glock 20 Gen 4 and 10 millimeter. A lot of power, 15 rounds plus 1 in the magazine. That's why a lot of people carry this for all kinds of critters, 2- and 4-legged as the saying goes. Incredible numbers you can get out of this cartridge. I know Buffalo Bore's got some great stuff out there. Underwood has some stuff. Obviously, if you hand load, you can really push it. I didn't go into any great length of my experience with it. I did try and hit the Norma spec, and I was able to do it. I was using long shot powder. I got well over 1200, yeah, 1250, well above that. And it's a lot. I mean, it's pushing back, and it didn't hurt the gun obviously or anything like that, but it's a lot in your hand. You can move it around speed wise, different bullet weights. There's quite a few selections. The one that I really wanted to try going forward would be like the 155 grainers to kind of get closer to that 357 Magnum, because those really go fast. It'd be interesting to try that on Sheetrock. But I actually was remiss, I didn't bring down the holster that I have for this. I have carried this gun inside the waistband holster. I believe it's a Kramer leather holster, and because it's a polymer striker fired gun, you know, it's fairly light. Even with 16 rounds in there, it's not unbearable or anything like that. So hopefully you liked what you saw today. Did a little bit of different things here in the history lesson. I hope I wasn't too long-winded on that. Make sure you guys give me some thumbs up, subscribe, it'd be great. Leave comments. If there's something in the story, the history that I didn't get right, point it out, let me know, and hopefully we'll keep turning out the videos, right, Pancho?
That's right, Benny.